Hello, and welcome to episode 48 of The Best Games, period. I'm your host, Jack Gardner, and with me this week are the very unmarried duo of Jeremy Brown and Daniel Jones. How are you doing, fellas? And I know you're not doing great, so just thanks for being here.
Everything's fine.
Well,
Everything's fine.
I'm fine. It's Christmas and everybody's miserable.
On the Best Games period, we talk about what games we believe or don't believe deserve to be considered the best games of all time, the ones that deserve to be remembered forever, the ones that should be played by everyone looking to be a well-rounded gamer. And this week we're talking about Assassin's Creed 2, largely believed to be one of, if not the best, in the Assassin's Creed series. Came out in 2009 and took Assassin's Creed from being I guess you would call it maybe even almost an indie underdog to a AAA powerhouse that has since gotten sequel after sequel after sequel. So many Assassins throughout history. So many Templars.
Yeah.
Indie underdog is maybe overselling it a little bit.
Really? You think so?
I mean,
Yeah, that was like a flagship franchise right from the
yeah,
get-go
I'm not sure you
for
can call it indie
Ubisoft.
game. I mean, a lot of people do worship at the Altair of Assassin's Creed 2.
Ah,
Well,
But Ezio, be honest, you know.
I mean, I think the first Assassin's Creed wasn't expected to be as big of a hit as it was. Like,
did you see the first trailer?
For a
I mean,
It was a huge deal at E3.
well,
maybe it was expected to be. I just don't remember it very fondly. So
maybe not.
are we
for
going
you.
to talk about that?
It was.
So, no. Like,
go for
here's
it.
the thing about the first Assassin's Creed. It was supposed to be one of the flagship games that was supposed to be exclusive on the PlayStation 3, right? And I was pretty stoked for it. And it wasn't a terrible game. I don't think it was. But it took so long to come out. And eventually, like, when it did come out, it released on the 360, PC, and PS3. So,
Everything.
Yeah, so it was no longer exclusive. And it did have some issues, but it was still a pretty fun game.
Yeah, it was very different from anything that had come out. But I guess the reason we're talking today about Assassin's Creed 2 instead of Assassin's Creed is that Assassin's Creed 2 just took everything Assassin's Creed 1 did and took it way beyond what people expected from the sequel. Like, I don't think Assassin's Creed is a bad game. I don't think it's a great game, even. I don't like it very much. So when I look at Assassin's Creed 2, it's like taking a kind of okay thing and then following it up with possibly like a game that could seriously be a contender for one of the greatest games of all time.
Yeah, no, I think the leap of faith, if you will, between Assassin's
You are on fire with these puns
Assassin's Creed and Assassin's Creed 2 is great. Like, it's almost like trying to find a needle in a haystack. Oh wait, I just ruined that one. That one wasn't that good. Anyway, I was going somewhere with that. But no, 2 is far and above way better than the first one. Yes.
Indeed. You might even say it's an eagle's sight better.
You might.
There are things that the first one does that are more interesting, in my opinion.
Well, I mean, it kind of comes back to
Really?
You couldn't have the second without the first. I mean, it just expanded on all that and did it way better. And Daniel, no, I don't think there is. But you can explain that if you want.
I will.
Go for it. I'm
game-
really interested to hear your argument here.
I think the second one is a little too handholdy.
Really?
And
Okay.
yeah, I do. It's the second one really set up the precedent for the rest of the franchise from that point forward. And it's this massive open world with just a ton of stuff in it, and it's just too much. And I never find the gameplay to be all that compelling. So, for whatever reason, like the platforming's fine, but the combat is clunky in my opinion. Sorry if I sound super stuffy tonight, but it's just clunky, and exploring that world is fun, but then, like, the things that they have you do, none of the side missions, or even the regular missions, in my opinion, are really particularly all that much fun. But what I really liked about the first Assassin's Creed is that it really did feel like you were setting up these assassinations yourself, and there was a lot of effort to, like, plan and execute all of these elaborate assassinations. And yeah, the city was super repetitive, or bland looking. The mission structure was super repetitive. The character models were repetitive, but there was a little more freedom in how to do what you had to do. Assassin's Creed 2, just like point to point, it tells you exactly what you need to do, how you need to do it, and what you need to do it correctly. And it sets the precedent that series ended up following, and made me basically stop caring about that series.
Okay.
So.
That was quite you.
I mean,
you went into great detail there.
Yeah, there's a lot to unpack there. Yeah.
I think that you are somewhat correct in that the gameplay in Assassin's Creed 2 isn't necessarily the best.
To be clear, I'm not saying I don't like Assassin's Creed 2.
Right.
And I'm not saying that I like Assassin's Creed 1 better. I'm just saying that I wish that they went in a different direction with improving on Assassin's Creed 1.
Well, I think just to kind of summarize even more what you're saying was the highlight of Assassin's Creed 1 was the assassination element.
Right.
Whereas future entries in the series, it's not like the focus became much more on kind of building the mythos of this assassin versus Templar plot.
Yes.
Whereas that wasn't necessarily the main focus in the first game. And there was a little bit more variety in how you could set up assassinations in the first one. I'll agree with you there.
Yeah.
At first, as you were talking, I was like, "Oh no, you're crazy," but you had a good point in there. I do think though that, like, last week we were talking about Mirror's Edge, and this week we mentioned a little bit in that episode about Assassin's Creed and its kind of style of parkour versus how Mirror's Edge tackled that. This is the kind of parkour that I enjoy more. Yeah. Because the main part of the, like, bread and butter of Assassin's Creed is just traversing the environment and, you know, doing all these crazy athletic things, running around on rooftops, climbing up the side of buildings, all that stuff. And that's really fluid, and it works really well, especially when you consider it's a game from 2009. It looks fantastic. Even today, like I was playing the original version, not the remastered version, which I've heard comes with its own share of problems, which is head scratching to me. But
yeah,
that is where the game shines, when you're running around and when you're trying to figure out how to get from point A to point B without getting spotted by too many guys. That's the most interesting heart of Assassin's Creed 2. And when you get into combat, that's kind of when it really falls apart. It's not super interesting. It's not super complicated or engaging, really. It's serviceable. That's about all you can say about the combat, I think.
Yeah, I don't really know. Like, okay, I haven't played Assassin's Creed like 29 through 7,000, but like the combat is never great. Has never been great in any of those games, in my opinion.
No. And this game set the precedent for like the rest of the series, and so that kind of bland milquetoast approach to combat has kind of carried over into the rest of the series as a whole. In my opinion, there are probably plenty of people out there who disagree, but then you mentioned how it kind of holds your hand a little bit more. I agree with that. I do think that maybe Assassin's Creed 2 does hold your hand a little bit more than the first game. But I think that, in particular, is probably to serve a more detailed and interesting story than was told in the first Assassin's Creed.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
I'm not sure that it holds your hand. I mean, it gives you like direct objectives and tells you where to go. I'm not sure that's holding your hand as opposed to just the evolution of the series. Does that make sense?
Well,
Do I need to elaborate?
Yeah. That makes sense. Like the first game, oh gosh, Altair wasn't really a great character. Like that, like if you talk to anyone about Assassin's Creed characters, the first one that's going to come to their mind is Ezio Auditore.
Yeah.
Because he's a fully fleshed out character. We see him literally from the moment of his birth growing up through his life.
Okay. He's Italian, so it's Ezio.
Hey!
Yes, definitely Ezio.
And you have to make that little hand motion.
I totally did as I said that. Jack, are you spying on me?
We're all spying on each other all the time. But yeah, Altair wasn't really that fully fleshed out. He was literally just an avatar for the player and for Desmond Miles, who's, I guess... Would you consider Desmond the main protagonist or the secondary protagonist to Assassin's Creed 2?
In AC2, he's the secondary.
Yeah,
okay.
definitely.
Yeah.
But Altair wasn't a great character. He was just a placeholder. Yeah. We didn't really get to know him that well. Ezio, on the other hand, has a very full personality, changes over the course of the game as different events happen. It's really interesting to see him grow and change and pursue revenge. I think while maybe that results in more hand-holding to kind of make that story flow a bit more, I do think it does ultimately benefit the story, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. I'm just saying, people shit on Assassin's Creed 1 all the time, and it wasn't perfect, but I think there were just some fantastic ideas in there, and a lot of them made their way into the rest of the series.
It was a good base for the series. I think totally it was. It wasn't a bad game. I don't think it was a bad game, unlike Jack.
But like, if you actually think about the way that game flowed, yeah, it was super repetitive, but man, the missions and the assassinations and that was a really rewarding system, and they never, I mean, they had it, but it never felt like you had the kind of freedom and control over it that I feel like they were trying to get with Assassin's Creed 1. Doesn't mean they achieved it with AC1, but they were trying for it. And then it was like with AC2, they just decided to just go for regular open world mission structure. And it felt more like Grand Theft Auto in Renaissance Italy instead of what Assassin's Creed 1 was trying to do. I don't know if that makes any sense.
It does.
I'm hopped up on pain pills. I'm not doing well.
Okay. Well, no, it does make sense. But we are talking about Assassin's Creed 2,
I
so
know.
let's
So
get on to
I'm
that.
done talking about AC1. Sorry.
I the comparison to Grand Theft Auto, I think, is pretty on point, except that while you do have this kind of open world that you're merely just going from point A to point B in, what an open world it is. Like, in terms of where you would rate, where would you guys rate Assassin's Creed 2's open world Italy? Like, I personally think it might be up there as the best, just as an open world from both like an aesthetic point of view and just like a place to run around in. It might be up there at number one.
Yeah, for me, it's up. I mean, as a kind of a history buff, it's up there very high. Like the way they recreated that world was pretty amazing.
Oh yeah,
Like,
down to like the architecture even.
yeah, it was spot on. They did their research and
Yeah.
it was right. It was legit. It was like not a single tile out of place. Like amazing stuff.
They
Yeah.
always do an incredible job with the open worlds in those games.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like just the amount of detail. I would like to play Syndicate, because that looks amazing. And to be honest, I guess I just like the Assassin's Creed games that nobody else likes. I really liked Assassin's Creed 3.
Really?
And yes, and the open world, and I mean, which is weird because that game's super handholdy also, but for what it is, I liked it. But the open world in that game is beautiful. It's awesome.
I didn't dislike that game.
Yeah. Just, I mean, growing up in New England and living
Well,
here,
yeah, exactly.
like
I
seeing
mean,
Boston and New York.
again, being a history buff, that was pretty neat.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you're looking at it from like a historical point of view, it's really cool. It's almost like running around in a living museum.
Yeah.
And I think that more than anything, the acclaim that Assassin's Creed 2 gets can be attributed to that very well detailed open world. Like the sights, the sounds, like everything about it is really, really great. And then on top of it, you have this really unique action stealth gameplay going on where you can climb anything, you can go anywhere. It feels like you have unprecedented freedom of mobility in Assassin's Creed 2, especially if you're talking about in its context when it came out in 2009.
Yeah.
Nothing else really like that. Today, you have more stuff that's similar to Assassin's Creed in terms of mobility in an open world. Maybe that makes it seem a little bit less special. But I think those two elements combined, those two basic elements combined, really are what catapulted this game to, I think it's around, it might even be over 10 million in sales by now. I know it was over 9 million like a few months after it came out.
Yeah, I'm sure it's way over 10 million at this point.
Yeah. So, I mean, like, this was a huge, huge release. And, I mean, Ezio might be the main character that people remember, but I think everyone remembers that open world.
Yeah. No, I think without Assassin's Creed 2, and obviously, again, without Assassin's Creed proper, I don't think we would have saw all, literally annual releases up until what, last year? They skipped, maybe?
Yeah, no, last year was Syndicate. They skipped this year.
Okay, this
They
year.
skipped 2016.
But
Yeah.
there's going to be a movie, so...
Yeah, the movie's coming out, and then I think the next one is slated for next year, so...
Yeah.
And the movie, if you're listening to this on the day our podcast is coming out, the movie's coming out on Wednesday. Hey, Hollywood, give us money. Give us
Lots
that
of it.
sweet, sweet tie-in money.
Kizash. We need it.
I hope the movie's good.
Me too.
it's
I
good.
didn't realize how star-studded the cast was until I saw a more recent trailer.
Yeah.
Like Marion Cotillard, she's not a slouch.
Yeah.
She is no slouch.
Michael Fassbender's a pretty good actor too.
Yep.
Yeah. No, he's one of Daniel's favorites.
Really?
Is he?
Michael? Is he?
I don't know. You were all about him a couple years ago for something. I'm not sure what it was. But...
Probably.
But yeah.
He was in Prometheus.
Yeah, maybe that. I don't know.
It also has Jeremy Irons, which
Yeah.
I like Jeremy Irons in a lot of things.
Hey, wasn't that guy Scar
Maybe.
Yes,
from The Lion King? Yeah.
Lion King.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So yeah, there's going back to the game.
Yes, Assassin's Creed 2.
Yeah. How do you guys feel about the story, either in Assassin's Creed 2 specifically or as a series as a whole?
Well, yeah, because the story kind of all rolls together, so there is that. I was fairly intrigued by the story.
Yeah.
I liked it. I can't specifically state why, because I've played so many of them and I forget which ones are in which. But
Yeah, I think
just the whole Renaissance Italy thing, like, and all that, I learned a lot playing that game.
Yeah.
And they were like factual things. And I think that's really neat.
Well,
Just to be clear, we will get spoilery.
yeah.
If you haven't played Assassin's Creed 2 and you don't want to be spoiled, maybe turn this off now.
The Assassin's Creed series frustrates me quite a bit. Because, like, I really like Assassin's Creed 2, but Assassin's Creed 2 is also the last game where I was able to play and not think it was... Like, I was able to play it and be like, this is good, and unironically enjoy it as a good game. Because I think the series story has just completely gotten so ridiculous I can't even connect with what's happening anymore.
Yeah, well, I haven't played like the last 6, to be fair. Like the last one I played was 3, I think. Because it went 2, then Brotherhood, then 3, right?
There was also
No,
Revelations.
Revelations.
And,
Revelations
okay, so
was
I
in
played
there
that one. So, like, I played Black Flag for like 6 minutes, and that I haven't played anything since then.
Yeah, let me tell you, having not played Brotherhood and Revelations, finishing Assassin's Creed 3 was really weird because I didn't understand half of what was going on.
Yeah, so for those who haven't played any of the Assassin's Creed games or have only played a couple of Assassin's Creed games or never finished an Assassin's Creed game, essentially the plot, there's an overarching weirdness to the plot where basically there are aliens in Assassin's Creed. And they were super advanced way back in the day, and humanity were their slaves, and they created these technological marvels, these objects of great power, and these vaults that contained knowledge and all this stuff. And then they died in a gigantic cataclysm.
Yes.
But humanity survived, and now there are Templars who seek to get these artifacts to control the world, and then there are assassins who seek to thwart the Templars, because the Templars are somehow always evil. And that is probably the most basic explanation you will possibly ever hear about this plot, because after Assassin's Creed 2, which is the first time it really gets super weird. There's a little bit of strangeness in the first one. It gets
Not much.
super weird at the end of 2, but it's still like acceptably weird. You're the kind of weird where you just want to know what's going on. And then subsequent events in the next few, like both expansion games or whatever you want to call them, and standalone games, just goes completely off the rails with these alien devices, and it's an odd mixture of historical accuracy and aliens.
Incomplete, yeah. Fantastical.
And
yes.
I don't know how to feel about it, because it's also, yeah, it's also mixed with like this almost spiritual mysticism that,
Yeah.
I don't know, it just doesn't, it makes it feel all that much more silly to me.
Well, personally for me,
the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull problem.
Yeah, the aspects of the game that I don't like, that tend to get on my nerves, is the fantastical part.
The stupid parts of Assassin's Creed all have to do with the aliens and the mystical artifacts, and don't gel well at all with the historical stuff. And also, it kind of bugs me that there's always conveniently like historical figures that are part of like the evil Templars or the good assassins. That just always bugs me a little bit.
You mean the kind of like Forrest Gump style shoehorning characters into weird historical events thing?
Yeah, and that you can see that in Assassin's Creed 2, like, their good family friend is Leonardo da Vinci. Hey!
Yeah,
of course.
He just lives down the street.
Everybody in Italy knew Leonardo da Vinci.
Yeah. And it does that, whenever I think of, like, moments like that, I think of that scene from Titanic, where they're, like, all the aristocrats are sitting around, and, oh, have you heard about what's-his-face, this, like, it's not Einstein, who is it? Have you heard about this psychologist by the name of Freud?
Right.
And, like, someone else is like, oh, he'll never amount to a thing. And that's what I think of whenever something like this is kind of shoehorned into a game. Like, the beginning of Assassin's Creed 2 is literally, like, walking to meet Leonardo da Vinci, and Ezio's mother is like, oh, he's such a provincial painter, you should be more like Leonardo da Vinci. And it's just kind of like, alright, whatever. I guess I'll roll with it. That's more of a nitpick and something that personally irritates me than an actual, like, knock against the game. Yeah.
Yeah, they may have tried a little too hard in those regards.
Yeah, just a bit.
Yep.
I think the whole series has done that. But, like, so the whole alien subplot just completely undermines everything that is interesting about the Assassin's Creed stories.
I feel like there is a certain amount of insanity that players can deal with without being jarred out of the story. Like, for example, the idea that you can jump into the memories of someone's ancestors via their DNA.
Yeah.
Like, that's a really high concept sci-fi idea. But players can roll with it. Like, that it's not too crazy. It's pretty much impossible, but whatever, we'll roll with it. But then you get to, oh, and by the way, aliens once ruled this planet and humans were their slaves, and there's a coming apocalypse or something. Like, then you're just kind of like, that's a little bit too much.
Yeah, it's kind of absurd go. Like, I think the entire series could benefit from not having any of that. It's a fun game, just
right
with what it is, like the base of the game. Like, we don't need Desmond, we don't need the aliens, we don't need any of that crap. It would still be great. I think it would be better, personally, if none of that ever occurred. Like, why? Why did that have to happen?
I mean, it
because
works.
It's a video game.
Well, it works as a way of tying the entire series together with, like, an overarching plot. But,
yeah, but why can't it just be, like, hey, each game covers a different interesting assassin and Templar storyline?
Yeah.
And that's it throughout history.
Well, because then you have to have some reason for them to fight each other and remain secret. And
no, you
don't. Yeah, you can go into that without I mean,
history does that. They could do it with good job to do on the history part without putting that fake bullcrap into it.
Yeah, I mean, I just kind of get why they did it. They just didn't do it very well. Because obviously if you look at Assassin's Creed 2, they obviously spent the majority of their time on the Ezio parts, because those parts are way more interesting than anything else that's going on, even once you bring aliens into it.
Yeah.
And, like, there's the potential for that to be cool, which I feel is, like, one of the reasons Assassin's Creed 2 stands up better than something like Assassin's Creed 3. Because Assassin's Creed 2 sets up the potential for that silly alien stuff to actually pay off. Like, it's interesting and mysterious. But
Yeah.
future entries in the series bungle that potential. And so I don't know that we can necessarily hold that against Assassin's Creed 2. If that makes sense.
Well, I don't necessarily hold it against it, but I don't think it was necessary. Like, I think the game would have shined on its own, just running around Renaissance era, whatever, Italy, wherever it was, Rome, blah, blah, blah,
Yeah.
blah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it also doesn't help.
Montpelier, whatever it was.
Montpelier.
And
Yeah.
just having fun doing that would have been fine.
Yeah, well, it also doesn't help that Desmond is a not very interesting secondary protagonist for
Yeah.
all that future stuff to be going on.
All of that stuff is just unnecessary.
Honestly, what the series really felt like it was leading up to, and I know I'm getting off topic by talking about not just Assassin's Creed 2, but it really felt like the series was leading up to Desmond becoming a future assassin, and that being its own standalone sci-fi Assassin's Creed,
Right.
Well,
which
sure,
would have
but-
been sweet.
Except he's dead.
Yeah, except that he dies at
Spoiler.
the end of Assassin's Creed 3. But that's so they can do more historical Assassin's Creed games on a
Yes.
yearly basis.
But that's the best part of Assassin's Creed is the historical stuff, not the made up stuff. Like
Besides, the Assassins-
any given game, any given Assassin's Creed game, like I wholeheartedly believe that.
Besides,
Honestly,
if he were an assassin now, he would just be a hacker.
Yeah, like he would have no.
it would be
reason to
Watch
actually
Dogs.
have
Well,
to-
it would be Watch Dogs, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it might canonically be Watch Dogs. There are crossover between
Yeah,
those
there
series.
is, isn't there?
Yeah, there's evidence that Abstergo is a company in the world of Watch Dogs.
In the Watch Dogs world, yeah.
I don't know. That's kind of a hot take, Jack. If I was
No,
you,
no, it's there
No,
are
it's-
emails.
it's-
I think
It's real.
Ubisoft on that.
That was bad.
That was
Yeah, that
terrible.
was a stretch.
All that being said, like, I think the achievement of that open world outweighs a lot of that sillier, unnecessary stuff that isn't necessarily the stronger parts of Assassin's Creed 2.
Although, I mean, it is kind of funny that we talk about the fantasy stuff that just can't be real, but yet we all firmly believe that you can leap off of an entirely tall tower into a pile of hay and be just fine.
I mean,
Yeah, but that's awesome. So
yeah. I mean,
that never gets old, really.
It doesn't get old. I mean, I would do it right now if there was a pile of hay around.
How can we talk about Ezio?
Sure, go for it.
Ezio Auditore da Firenze. He is a really good character. He's charismatic. He's likable. He's Nolan North, isn't he? Right? No,
that's
he's not
Desmond.
Nolan North. Sorry, Desmond is Nolan North. But
And Kristen
Ezio's
Bell
just-
is actually the lady. I didn't know that. Kristen Bell plays the Lucy lady.
Yes,
from
she does.
in the
Wait,
future.
the dude from Batman plays Lucy?
Kristen Bell.
Oh,
Christian
okay.
Bale.
Don't make me laugh. It hurts so much. For the listeners out there, I think I cracked a rib, so it really hurts when I laugh. No, I that was the big improvement AC2 made over 1 for me. It was just Ezio was really likable. I enjoyed seeing him on the screen in cutscenes and his dialogue and story. It was fun.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
And so we haven't really we got into like the overarching stuff with aliens. What is his actual, we don't have to go into every finer bit of detail, but what is Ezio's journey in Assassin's Creed 2?
You'd have to do it. I don't remember.
Well, I mean, he comes from a aristocratical type of family. Like, he's got wealth, he's got means.
Well, I mean, his family is like not the best in town, and like people kind of look down on his family, but they're not living in the gutter. We'll say that much.
Aren't they like bankers?
I'm not really sure exactly what their family does.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, they got money. Like, they're not the best in town, but people hate them because they...
I just remember at the beginning, like, this guy who's betrothed to Ezio's sister, his father's talking about how he can do better than Ezio's sister, because his family is not well liked, but you're...
Well, no, I don't think his family's well liked, but they're well off.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. Misunderstood. But I guess his dad is in the Templar, or not Templar, the Assassin Order, and Ezio doesn't know anything about that stuff until his family is arrested and taken away and tried and executed for crimes against the state.
Yes.
And he delivered the evidence that would have exonerated them to the guy presiding over their trial, but the evidence was quote-unquote lost. So he watched as his family was executed, and that kind of sets him off on a quest for revenge and to figure out what happened.
Yes.
Kind of leaves him with just the tools he finds in his father's assassin box.
Yeah, basically he's like Harry Osborn.
Yeah, I guess, sort of, yeah. Yeah, from Spider-Man.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I guess, yeah. Okay. I was thinking Batman, almost, but Harry Osborn probably works a little bit better because of the dad thing.
Well, yeah, I mean, like, he didn't realize his family was a part of these long...
Right,
okay.
Group of assassins until his family was hung right in front of him. And,
that was a deep cut there, Jeremy. Good nerd reference.
Well, I mean, don't tell anybody.
A deep cut from one of the highest selling movies of all time. Real deep cut there, Jeremy. Also, maybe a little bit reminiscent of Star Wars Rogue One, which I just saw last night.
Oh, that's a great reference because none of us have seen it. Thank you, Daniel.
You're welcome. It doesn't spoil anything. It's the first scene in the movie. All right? Jeez.
I haven't seen the first scene in the movie, so therefore it does spoil something.
Shut up.
Jerk.
Ow, it hurts to laugh. Stop it. What are some of the fun things that happen in this game? There's a mission where you have a hang glider. What?
Yeah, all the Da Vinci stuff was actually really cool.
Yep.
And I personally liked collecting the feathers. I know most people hated that, but I thought it was fun. Or is it flags? Was feathers the first one?
Feathers in the first one.
Okay, so
no, flags was the first one. Feathers is the second one.
Right, you're right. Flags in the first one, feathers in the second one.
Never doubt me.
God, I'm sorry.
Well, that was during your collecting phase, too, where you collected a lot of stuff.
I did. Even virtual reality, whatever.
You were all about those platinum trophies.
I guess to me, like, I don't even hardly remember the Desmond parts and the crazy part at the end. Like, I wanted to put together the egg or the apple, whatever the hell it was.
Apple, yeah.
And I wanted to kill people, assassinate people. And I wanted to avoid combat as much as possible because it sucked. And I wanted to collect all them feathers. That's what I wanted to do. And I did. It was great.
And run across rooftops.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
I gotta say, I just talking about Desmond for a quick second, the beginning of Assassin's Creed 2 is... I can't even wrap my head around Desmond as a character. Because he literally just wakes up one day and someone's just like, hey, getting this animus. Like,
Yeah.
all right, you got blood all over your shirt, but yeah, why not? Got nothing better to do.
Yeah.
Okay, come with me if you want to live. Well, all right, I'll get into that car trunk.
Sure.
Okay, we're here after however long you were in that car trunk. We want you to get back into this machine with surrounded by people you've never met before. Okay, whatever. He's just so lackadaisical and like just doesn't care about what's going on around him.
It's so agreeable with everything.
Yeah, he's just like, oh, whatever. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, why not? Makes sense to me.
Oh, you want to make me an assassin? Okay, I was a bartender, but fine.
Same thing, right? Pretty much. Same skill set.
Slower methods. So, how do you guys... I'm kind of mixed, actually, on the actual platforming stuff, because it does seem like it's kind of...
automatic?
It's automatic, and it's kind of loose. Like, it generally interprets things the right way, but sometimes you're just like, I wasn't trying to jump there. I wasn't trying to do that.
Right.
Yeah, it's pretty hard to fail in that aspect.
But also, there's a lot of times where it just misreads your input.
Yeah.
And you'll be running, and all of a sudden he'll jump off of a platform and jump down to the street instead of jumping to the next platform. Or
and all of a sudden you're almost dead and you're surrounded by enemies.
Right. He'll stop and grab a window or something, and it's like, no. Yeah, that's always pretty frustrating. And that never really gets better.
Yeah.
No, it does not.
In any of the games in the series. But, yeah. We can nitpick about the gameplay, but, I mean, overall, the loop is pretty good. The thing about Assassin's Creed is that, like, it's different, you know? It's a different kind of open-world, third-person game. It's not just... I make the Assassin's Creed... I make the Grand Theft Auto comparison, and it's there. I think it's definitely comparable, but the gameplay is obviously different, and it's unique and it's fun. It originated as a Prince of Persia game, and that lineage is still kind of there a little bit because it's focused on platforming and combat in equal measure, and that's cool.
I think where this game shines is during the actual assassinations. Like,
yes,
that part is cool as hell.
Are we ready to wrap this up?
Because
I get the feeling we're kind of running into a wall. We're all tired. We're all kind of crabby. Is Assassin's Creed 2 one of the best games, period?
Yeah, and I haven't actually thought about, like, what I was going to say here.
Uh-huh.
So I'm going back and forth.
Yeah, I've been doing the same.
Okay, so I know where I stand on it, at least.
Okay.
And
Jack,
what
take your stance.
I'm going to say yes. I think if an Assassin's Creed even deserves a place on the best games, period, it's going to be Assassin's Creed 2. I think the other ones all have almost crippling narrative problems or technical problems. I guess we haven't even mentioned that Assassin's Creed 2 is when Ubisoft launched their Uplay.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
With their always online DRM, and that kind of mars this game. I don't want to blame Assassin's Creed 2 for that. I think that's a little bit unfair to the game itself for a company that's doing something scummy.
Did this game debut the multiplayer?
No, that was Brotherhood.
No, yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, the Ubisoft launched this with always on DRM.
Yeah.
Not a great idea, it turned out. People really didn't like that.
That was also back when when companies were doing the online passes and everything.
Yep.
Yeah, they still do scummy things, but those were the scummy things at that time.
Yeah.
I mean, at least with Uplay, if you logged into it and did certain things, you got bonuses for the game, which amounted to shite. But
Yeah. Oh, you want this wallpaper? Here you go.
well, plus you got like 3 throwing knives for doing something and just weird stuff.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
So taking that out of the equation, I think this is probably one of the first open world games that was just the world. Like, people say this a lot, especially leading up to releases, where like, oh, the world is a character.
The world is a vampire. Oh man, a vampire Assassin's Creed game.
There's a game coming out called Vampire. It's an open world RPG.
But that's the Life is Strange people, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It looks pretty sweet. Vampire.
Right.
But
anyway.
this is one of the first games where the world actually was a really, really good character. And it told the story really well. Like, you just want to spend more time in Italy. Like, it's a cool place to run around, even if you're not really doing anything. And I think that's probably why, Jeremy, you said, like, you really enjoyed collecting all the things, because it was just fun to run around in that world.
Yeah, it was.
Right.
So, honestly, I view that as a huge technological and, like, artistic achievement, making a world like that. And then the cherry on top is a competent character piece on this Ezio and his kind of quest for revenge. That was actually really nicely done.
Yeah, he's got a good arc.
And like there are all the things around it that aren't really that great. Like, I don't think the gameplay is really that awesome. We went over that. I don't think the secondary plot is really that interesting, but it has potential, at least in Assassin's Creed 2. So there's this kind of undercurrent of but I do think if you had to play one Assassin's Creed game, Assassin's Creed 2 is the one you should play. And I think Assassin's Creed as a franchise is hugely important to understanding where games are today. So again, it's right on the edge for me, but I come down on yes. If this were any other Assassin's Creed game, I would say no. But for Assassin's Creed 2, I say yes.
Okay.
All right.
So, Daniel, you want to go or do you want me to go?
Sure, I'll go. I would say yes also. For the same reason you did, Jack, kind of like if you're going to pick an Assassin's Creed game, I guess this should probably be the one. And it's a great game. It's a very fun adventure. There's some strong characters in there. There's interesting story beats and entertaining dialogue. There's, it's still beautiful to look at. The attention to detail is incredible. The gameplay is, the combat doesn't hold up in my opinion, but the platforming's still fun. It's just fun. It's a fun game. It's worth playing, and it's definitely an important part of that generation. So yeah,
Fair enough.
for sure. Jeremy,
Daniel.
What say you?
Oh, well, I'm gonna go a soft yes, if that makes sense.
The softest of yeses.
Yeah.
Mine's a super soft yes too.
But
It's very limp.
for the reasons you guys said, but also like, I don't think you have to play any other Assassin's Creed game to enjoy this game. Like, it stands out on its own.
Yeah, really the only reason to play the first one would be to understand Desmond as a character, but other than that, doesn't really matter all that much.
But even still, I think you can enter in media res into and kind of figure out what's going on pretty easily.
Yeah, they have a really quick recap at the beginning.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah.
But like this game is just at its core, it's fun, and yes, they clearly have issues with some of the platforming and some of the plot and some of the execution, but it's really fun to play, and I loved this game when I played it. Looking back at it, I don't love it as much as I did then, but I still, it was one of my greatest gaming experiences at the time that it came out. I think that people, like it's a franchise. It is an important franchise, like Daniel said. It's something that's not going away, so we should embrace it. And if you're going to start somewhere, start with Assassin's Creed 2. It is the best game of that franchise. And I also do think it is a best games period. It's not for everybody, but it doesn't have to be. It's fun. It's fun to do the things that Ezio Auditore da Firenze does. I mean, it really is.
Yeah. I mean, I think Assassin's Creed 2 is one of those really rare games that even though a lot of the disparate parts of it are generally weak, they all manage to kind of synergize together, and there's enough new things in it where it just kind of manages to be fun, even though there are these not as strong elements present.
Yeah. And it has a lot to offer in the Renaissance world. Like, screw the modern world and the future world. Like, in the Renaissance world, that's great. That's fabulous.
Yeah. It's definitely a game that is better than the sum of its parts.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. Well,
all right.
You heard it here, folks. You should probably play Assassin's Creed 2. Maybe skip all the other Assassin's Creed games and play a different Ubisoft game, like Child of Light or something.
I don't know. Assassin's Creed 3 is fine.
Or Beyond Good and Evil.
Yeah, that's a good game. We should talk about that one at some point.
I think we will. Also, Assassin's Creed 3 is a better game than this. Whoa! Oh my god!
So, Jack, how about Extra Life?
I just want to say I genuinely came into this episode I don't like the Assassin's Creed series.
I don't either. I really don't.
But if there's if anything that should tell you how strong Assassin's Creed 2 must be, if I'm telling you should probably play it, even though as a whole I don't like the series.
No, I agree.
Yeah, same here.
Okay, Extra Life. 24-hour video game marathons.
What is it?
Guess what? You can participate in them and support sick and injured kids in Children's Miracle Network hospitals all across the United States and Canada. Unfortunately, if you're joining up at this point in the year, the 2016 official marathon day has come and gone at the beginning of November. However, you can still sign up, hold your own event. Really, it's grassroots. You can hold your own marathon anytime you want. You can spread it out over as many days as you want. And you can still raise money all the way from now until the end of the year, which by the time you're listening to this will probably be fairly close. But you can still do it. You can raise money for those sick and injured kids in Children's Miracle Network hospitals all across North America. And you know what? The cool thing about it, haven't even mentioned yet. When you sign up, you can choose which Children's Miracle Network hospital you want to support, and 100% of everything you raise, 100% of everything you donate, goes directly to that hospital to help kids in that particular hospital. It's amazing. You know where your money is going, and all of it's going there. None of it's skimmed off the top for administrative fees or anything like that. So head over to extra-life.org where you can find out more about Extra Life. Or if you want to get more involved in the community, you can head over to community.extra-life.org where you will find this very podcast along with a number of other interesting articles written by yours truly, as well as some occasional contributors, such as Daniel Jones himself.
Yeah. Once a year or so. Yeah.
You're working on a pretty interesting thing right now.
I think that falls under occasional.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you, Jack. Jeremy.
No, thank you. You're welcome, Daniel.
Jack.
Daniel.
Jack, Jeremy. Quinn?
Jonathan?
What's going on?
Wah.
What are we doing here?
Desmond?
Miles?
Thank you both for joining me tonight for this adventure through history and time and space.
But Daniel, we were with you the entire time.
Yeah.
Well,
Well, no, me. I was
God.
sitting on a park bench, just biding my time, waiting to assassinate some high-powered religious figure.
Oh, you.
And thank you, good listeners, for joining us as well. Sorry we weren't the most enthusiastic tonight.
No, it was a weird episode. Wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, you know, Assassin's Creed is weird, so. Assassin's Creed is weird.
Well, yeah. You also just got off baking all the Christmas things, and Daniel has a cracked rib, and
If only I only had to bake all the Christmas things. That was the easy part, Jack. Yeah.
you have to cook all the Christmas things?
I
Yeah.
have to do all the Christmas things. Like, okay,
Yeesh.
do you want me to go on this rant or no?
Let Daniel wrap up the episode.
Let's
first.
save it for the end of the show, yeah. Yeah. All right, so that was episode 48
Yep.
of the Best Games period.
Question mark?
Yeah, 48. It is episode 48 of the Best Games period. Every week we post a poll of the previous game that we discussed, and this week's game was Mirror's Edge, and overwhelmingly the polls showed that Mirror's Edge was voted not a Best Games period. Sorry, Jack.
It's okay, I know I'm right. I felt like I made a pretty good case for that game last week.
You did.
Confidence is key.
You did. It's still not a Best Game period. But anyway, and if you'd like to join in the discussion, follow us on Twitter at Best Games period. You can also find this show every Monday on iTunes and SoundCloud, as well as on Libsyn, our hosting site. We post it on Game Informer and community.extra-life.org as well. So, if you like the show, let us know. Tell us about it on Twitter or leave us a review on iTunes. That would be great. Till next time, when we will be discussing... What game are you guys discussing next time? Because I won't be there.
I believe Valkyria Chronicles, yeah?
Oh, Valkyria
Yeah.
Chronicles. They just announced a sequel.
Yep, there's one coming over from the west, from the east.
What do you mean, a
From one
sequel?
direction.
Is it a sequel or is it like a spiritual successor?
Well,
No,
yes,
it's a modern day sequel. Well, not a modern. It's like
Well, I mean,
steampunk industrial age sequel.
Valkyria Chronicles 2 is already a thing, so...
No, so there's a new one. It's called
No.
Valkyria Azure Revolution. I think they're just shortening it to Valkyria Revolution.
Oh, I'm down with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It looks pretty cool too.
It's coming Q2 of 2017.
All right, so I look forward to it in 2018.
Oh, hey, it's coming to the Vita too. How about that?
Oh, look at that. All right, so look forward to that next week with the smooth stylings of Jack Gardner and Jeremy Brown. I am Daniel Jones. See you all on the flippity dippity. And since I won't see you over Christmas, and I won't talk to you until then. Everybody have a very merry, holly jolly Christmas and a happy New Year.
Yes.
And many more.
And sure. Old Lang Syne and all that jazz.
I am a killer, and I always have been. They say once you taste blood, it changes you forever. I wouldn't know, because it's been a part of my diet since day one. What is worth killing for, you might ask? I wouldn't know, because I never had any other choice. I have always followed orders. I'm taking another man's life. All I can say is, it's both easier and more difficult than you